Hello and welcome to the education series of webinar that the Hindu conducts at 5 p.m. every Saturday. And this evening we have with us my co-moderator John Xavier, who is the technology editor at the Hindu. I'm Maitri Gorecha. I cover education for the Hindu. We have with us the man of the hour, Sarthak Siddhant. He's a class 12 student who has just given his CBSE exams, and like lakhs of other students, was awaiting his marks. He was pretty much not happy with a couple of subjects that he got his marks in. He has also applied for his answer sheets, but however, he did something more. He is interested in civic technology, so he went ahead and compared the request for proposals, the tenders that were awarded to COEMT Tech, that CBSE's technology vendor, for running the on-screen marking portal, which has led to a lot of confusion among students about blurry scan copies, about mixing up of answer sheets, and so on. All the topics that we are discussing today in our webinar. We have with us Keshav Agarwal. He's a career counselor. He's an activist. He has been at it in the Supreme Court for tracking CBSE very closely, and also tracking other important topics of education that matter. Keshav has very stark views and has been monitoring CBSE day to day on where CBSE has found itself in this really confusing mess. We have Nisarga with us, who is an ethical hacker. He is another Gen Z 19-year-old fellow, has just written his class 12 exams last year, I believe, Nisarg, and he has managed to, or so he claims, allegedly hacked into the CBSE website and has had gained access to millions of students' database at the back end, claiming that he informed the CBSE and the education minister and the computer emergency response team under Ministry of Information Technology and Electronics about all the vulnerabilities that CBSE portals had, but there was little action from their end, which coerced him, which forced him to put all of this up in social media. That's where things are playing out. I welcome all of you to this webinar, and I hand over the mic to John to ask the first question to our panelists.
Thanks, Maitri. That was quite an interesting introduction. And thanks, Hartak, Nisarg, and Keshav. Nice meeting you. I think I'd like to move the spotlight to the important issue at the moment that Sarthak had actually brought out through his investigative search. Sarthak, for our listeners and viewers, would you mind giving an overview of what you found through those two different types of tenders that was floated, and what are the changes, and how did that bring about COEMT as the vendor for the on-screen marking system that is currently bogging down the CBSE system now?
Good evening, everyone. I am Sarthak Siddhant. So basically what I did was dig into the tenders. I compared both the tenders and I found some discrepancies. And according to my investigation, I think CBSE rewrote the rules to favor COEMT EduTech. That's the summary of it. They changed a lot of rules to favor COEMT EduTech.
So could you give an idea on what was the change, like, top 3 or 4 changes that led to COEMT being taken as the vendor?
I could track 15 changes in my investigation. I have published my blog. Some changes, the changes range from the legal language to hardware, software. They range to vagueness in language and this like scanner system, penalty system. A lot of it. I'll start by the first change. I think we all know about the background of COEMT EduTech. It is a very notorious company which had a massive blunder in Telangana State Board examinations in 2019, and that led to 23 students killing themselves, which is very sad. So what this background of Coent EduTech proves is that they have a very bad track record, and this is what this is like the clause that was removed. This sort of favors Coent EduTech. Let me tell you what the clause was. In the old RFP, RFP is request for proposal that it is issued by CBSE or other government bodies to invite the bidders to bid on the tender. First thing was erasing the record of poor performance. This was the first clause. In the old RFP, there were three clauses. And there were three different types of clauses which said that the service provider will be disqualified if there is a record of poor performance. But in the new tender, in the new RFP that was released on 28th August, 3 months later, it was totally wiped out. The second thing I found out, the second interesting thing I found out was that the language in the older RFP was blacklisted earlier. That the service provider will be disqualified. It was blacklisted earlier, and then it changed to blacklisted currently in just 3 months. Then there was a third thing. It was how Coent EduTech has a 50 crore turnover. How it was about how the bidder should have an average turnover of 50 crores in the past 3 years. So Coent EduTech only had 50.86 crores, and this was a pre-qualification criteria. This was totally needed. So Coent EduTech had 50.86 crores, which is just 1.7% of a razor-thin margin of the criteria that CBSE set at 50 crores. Sri Info Solutions in the last RFP wanted CBSE to lower it down, but CBSE did not lower it down, even though the tender value was much lower than that. So these are some discrepancies. There are a lot more. There are 12 more discrepancies I have found, but these discrepancies paint a picture. I will now tell you about the hardware and software changes, which could be interesting. In the fourth clause that I found was that CBSE changed the CMI level from 5 to 3. In the earlier project, it was in the earlier RFP it was 5, and then it was changed to 3. In a Free Press Journal article, I have found out that Coent's EduTech CMI level was 3, and it was published on 24th September, just a few days after Coent bid, I believe. This change of CMI level in both the things is concerning too. There's another software and hardware changes I would like to point out. The hardware change was that in the earlier RFP, the bidder was mandated to have a data center and disaster recovery center. But it was changed. It was changed to a MATI impaneled cloud service. So this can raise questions about how do I say it? Data sovereignty. TCS has their own data centers, which TCS could have used for like CBSE things because the local server deployment was mandated. But CBSE changed it to cloud service providers, and this especially benefited Coent EduTech because all of the things they have is hosted on Amazon. There was also change in software ownership. Earlier, the service provider was mandated to have all the rights and access to the complete source code. But in the next thing, it was changed to the service vendor had the choice to choose between open source and proprietary software. And Coent EduTech has a platform called OnMark, which the CBSE used for evaluation. There's other universities like GTU and all other universities that use OnMark, which is software provided by Coent. And this is built on proprietary software, the IIS by Microsoft Windows. So these things paint a pattern that CBSE is favoring. CBSE is rewriting rules to favor Coent EduTech. My question is, why are they doing this? Why are they changing the rules?
Right.
Thank
So,
you, Karthik.
Yeah,
for
yeah. Go
this
ahead, Matthew. Sorry. Yeah.
explanation. Thanks a lot for explaining us, because you have listed out 15 points, and you have brought about the first five most pertinent points, and you end with this one question, which even somebody it's very surprising that a class 12 student is asking this question straight to the Ministry of Education or the CBSE, as to why does it feel like they are it seems with all these proofs that they may be allegedly favoring coamt, right? And at this point, I just want to bring in Keshav, and after we speak to Keshav, we can move ahead with John asking a question to Nisa about ethical hacking. But Keshav, where does CBSE stand right now with all this? Because you've been tracking the agency daily, and you've also been speaking to a lot of evaluators, tutors. So, what is your view?
See, all these things are coming to light because of the chaos created by the OSM checking. So, till the results were declared, these issues were never there. Even when CBSE had decided to follow OSM, that time also the questions were never asked by anybody. Till the date the results were declared. And once the results were declared, and obviously the RTI which I filed came out asking them, why did you collect 23 crores? And this time they had tripled the charges, 1300 for one question. So when that was done and it was published, the first knee-jerk reaction from them was to lower the charges. And the second demand which we wanted was refund if our challenge is correct, which they accepted. Now, in this process, they opened up the door for many, because 1300 for one paper, and there was a lot of, I'll show you the data of the result I have prepared. The problem why it was there. It was PCM, which was a major problem, along with bio and economics. That were the five major areas. So when they reduced to 100 rupees, people came out like anything, and everybody wanted to apply. And government, since there was lot of noise, they all came on a Sunday, and they had a press conference, and they assured that it would be taken care of. First day itself, within first 3 hours, it was, I think, 1.25 lakh applicants, and then by the end 3 lakhs, and server crashed like anything. And then for a couple of days the story went on, as we see. So I'll just present very in a very simple format. So okay, I'll come with so what I'll do is, so then what happened was, May 19 this all started, and by May 20, 21st, the extensions, the prices. Now what I saw of this company in Nagpur, they are having a major crisis, coamt. And what is the major crisis? That results declared, glitches, admit cards not matching. And one thing which I was reading was somewhere 9.6 was being read as 96. So this happened. Now I'll just take you. Now see this data, which is itself that result dropped by 3%. And that is very significant when 17 lakh children are taking. And then now we see the number of applicants, 11 lakh plus copies applied. Never happened in the history of CBSE. And that is when your site is not functioning. Had the site functioned, this would have gone 15 lakh plus. So May 19, if we see, the chaos started. Second day, 69,240. Now why I want to point this? Because in Nagpur also this incident has happened. May 3, the maintenance 24, and now the last reaction is June 1st. So see the state they are in, such a big body who claim to be digital, and now they are in all chaos and limbo. And limbo to students, because they are utterly don't know what students are into. So June 1st, now they have said, which was supposed to open yesterday. And the relevation, the outcomes which are coming from students are shocking. Even totaling error has happened. So, the system which they claimed, these are the problems I can say: blurred, missing supplementary, MCQ overlays, swapped answer sheets, blank pages despite written, correct answers marked 0, and you add one more. you add one more, is the totaling error, which is very shocking because CBSE categorically said there would be no. Now, just this company, why I want to, already Siddhant has explained about it. Now, here I would like you to take to, obviously, this is basically the bar cut and this, the Nagpur University, where I was reading, which is there, I think, okay. Just a minute. So these are the few universities which have actually tried. Now here we are dealing with 17 lakh students. Now you can run, this company may be doing 2-3 lakhs, but when you give 17 lakhs, you need to have a thorough recheck, which the CBSE never did. And as a result, we are seeing all this chaos, and in this the future of the students is at stake. Today anyone who wants to apply abroad is all lost, because this result will take more than 1 month to come out, leave apart other things. So this is one major question. Now we'll be discussing other things, but right now students crisis is too much. Today, when will the result come, or when will they even apply? That is not there. The company which they have chosen is not even competent to handle this. IIT Madras is called. You are borrowing everything from outside, like in NEET you are calling Air Force. So you see, this all looks very shabby, and now you can join the pieces. Why this is happening. Teachers were not allowed. Now I spoke to a teacher who said physics copy, which came to them after 22 days, when they were checking, the copies were blurred, and when they sent for rechecking, those copies never came back on time, and if they came back, the quality was same. So as a result, what happened? As a result, they stopped sending and they checked whatever it was. Now you see blank pages being left. And if you see, now interestingly, why, see, this is the data of the result I have summarized. Trivandrum, there are some places you can see which have performed well. Top performance, crisis zone. You can easily see Northern India has a major crisis, and I'll explain you why in all 3 minutes, everything. Now you can see pass percentages, average, and how it went. 85 something is the average, and you can see the red lines. Entire Northern India is suffering. And this is the most shocking data, unexplainable. You will see now physics is the subject where all problems are coming. Chemistry 1000 plus hundreds, maths 1200 plus, physics has just 96. And the shocking data is, out of 163 800 compartments, 94 519 in physics, 58% failed. So physics has been a major chaos, mix up of copies, checking problem. There are so many things. Now, why students are protesting and why this happened? See, one was mathematics, which they are doing along with physics. Mathematics, there was variation of papers. If you see Delhi and other places, so you will find the question papers level was different. So that is why students could not perform similarly. This is one big flaw in CBSE, that they don't give same paper on the same day. Now the level is like this. See the Delhi paper, you analyze, you will find it is very difficult. So the marks came dropping. So even though maths has 1200 plus students scoring 100, there is a big hue and cry even in maths. And physics, it is a disaster, that we all know. Third, economics has a problem, and this were the papers which were checked at the end. Economics, you just have 43500s, whereas accountancy has 1437. Now economics is taken by commerce, science and humanities. How come only 435? And this were the copies, they were checked last because they could not be scanned. One more question. They said in press conference, 13,000 copies could not be scanned despite 3-4 attempts. Now, if a student applies for revaluation, how will you show them the copies because they are not able to scan them? So there are a lot of things which they are hiding one after the other. And one recent thing is making the videos. All of a sudden, to counter the Vedant and all, they have started teachers, using teachers and principals, they are making all is well. Now it is not showing what is all is well or not. We have to accept things. And the biggest problem is students. They are at stake. Now today there was CUET crisis. And student already 3-4 days they were trying to apply for reval, nowhere. NIT is again due. So understand the mental trauma of students. whether they will wait and apply whole day with the CBSE or prepare for exams. Now many are in limbo because foreign universities will not wait for you. The students have done hard work of 1 year, letter of recommendation, everything sent. The limbo is result. Now when will the result come? I don't know. So you see, what I have is one agency could not protect a piece of paper, that is neat. One agency could not check a piece of paper, that is CBSE, and today one agency could not conduct an exam. This is the state of education out here. So you see, right now everything is in chaos. So CBSE, every day they change the plan. So I have told them failing to plan is planning to fail, and they have planned already to fail the students. So at least now sit, make a instant solution, and then we have to go deep into all this. But today the student is so much stressed that he doesn't know what to do. They keep crying and sending us also messages, sir hamare ko sheet hi nahi aayi, we have applied, we cannot download. Even today you try downloading, it will not happen. Today itself the student said the available sheets are not getting download. So problems are so many, just because of one decision. Had they applied even this in compartment exam, it would not have been a problem, because one principal was asked, and I love that answer. CBSE said, please send your best teacher. Principal replied, सर बेस्ट टीचर पढ़ाने में और बेस्ट टीचर टेक्नोलॉजी में होने में दोनों में फर्क है. And this is what they need to understand. One more thing, students were never trained how to write. Had students been trained, at least this problem would not be have happened. They would have presented the answer. The root cause is not OSM, but the way the copies were scanned and presented before teachers. And this is why this chaos. Had the copies been perfectly scanned and presented, most of the teachers would have done, but with little difficulty since they did not have training. And we have rural areas where CBSE is there, and teachers are not equipped with this. Today also they teach on blackboard, not on interactive panels. So please understand, technologically and digital, we have seen how much digital CBSE is, and all chaos, your site getting hacked and those things. So we need to understand, you experimented with such a large data, 40 crore pages scanning. You just calculate and see how many scanners, how many days. I mean, it is not even digesting to me. So this all problems are so much today that they don't have an answer. They are in complete chaos. CBSE was to open the door of the students to universities, and they have locked. And every morning I ask, when will this lock open? And I am not asking any bhiksha. I am asking integrity about my rights, and that is what the student is there. So I have summed up whatever I could by following this, and this is in nutshell what is the problem right now. So the main thing is give a solution today, but the things which Sarthak has raised, you have to go deep and answer those questions. And there were flags raised about this. You did not follow, why you went ahead and played with the life. And even if one student's 1 mark is compromised due to your checking, you are liable. Here there are thousands with so many marks. I know a student, he got 45 in maths, 44 out of 45, 35 marks copy he did not get. So see the state the child would be in when he gets, he was in a shock. They are not understanding the consequence of their action. कुछ हो जाता है, कुछ नहीं है, student को कुछ हो जाएगा, then who will answer? So there are, many questions we need to see. And today, exam after exam, we are seeing this. So I mean, if you meet the students, you will see their plight. Talking here, it's very easy for us, but their mental state is not good. Most of them are now saying Central Board of Stress Education instead of secondary. So
Thank you, Keshav, for that input. Thank you so much. I would like for John to ask the next question to Nisarg, who sort of claimed to hack into the CBSE website and the controversy that ensued later. And Nisarg, how did you defend it? So over to John and Nisarg now.
So Keshav, that's quite revealing. I mean, I had another follow-up question. Maybe I'll come to you after this thing with Nisarg. So Nisarg, you are an ethical hacker, and you have gone behind the digital screen into CBSE. What can you tell us about how that experience has been, and what is it that specific to this particular issue that you came across? in terms of security and how the CBSE database is structured?
Okay, so this started back in February when I was trying to see how OSM works. So I dug up CBS circulars and found out the URL which was being used for the OSM portal. So I opened that site and I didn't have any login credentials because obviously I was not a principal or an examiner. I started reading the code which is available to me. It is known as the front end code, the code which you get in your browser, and it was like a 10,000 line long of JS bundle, like raw JS code wrapped up in one file. It is very hard to read. So I just used a search tool to go through the code and find out the logic which is being used for username and password processing and how OTPs are being processed. And then I found out that there's a password encoded in the code which is not encrypted, not hashed, not obfuscated. It's in clear plain text. And using that password, you can log into anyone's account if you have that user ID. Finding out user IDs wasn't the hard part. I just googled some OSM tutorials or some lists from school and picked up some random teacher's user ID. And with that user ID, I just logged into a teacher's account and saw that I could evaluate sheets, change details, and so on. And during that time, looked around the dashboard to see how it is working, and saw that there are several other vulnerabilities like IDER, broken access control, and so on. Fast forward to that, CBSE denied these allegations and said that this was a test site and all. But I have visual proof, which are recording saying, and Sarthak also backed it up, by saying that this was done in a production environment according to their contract. And after that, yesterday I managed to hack into another portal of CBSE and get admin access there. And this was a portal that CBSE can't deny because it's mentioned on the circular clearly line by line. And line to line, I was able to hack into that portal. I reported it to the 13 CBSC and Ministry of Education, and shortly 4 to 5 hours later, they took the portal down. But during that time, I was able to see how their database was structured, how they process the data, how they were storing images in public Amazon buckets located in Mumbai, and so on. It was and how the security is so poor, how most of the passwords contain the word poem, and how badly it is audited. This was pretty creepy to see, honestly, and it's just sad that they didn't follow any international standards of audits before taking this platform live to the public.
Yeah, and also when you went back to these to the site again to check for traces, could you share your experience there? What sort of logs did you see earlier that were removed, and was there any specific red flag there?
Okay, so basically, I sent my first report on 25 February, and during that, they after 3 or 4 days after that report, they took the portal down, and they removed the hard coded password and logging of the hard coded password from the code. But other 6 or 7 vulnerabilities were still in the portal, which are active and exploitable. I tried to follow up to CBSE several times, and but they didn't respond, and it was pretty frustrating for me. And that's it, I guess. Baki, I just hacked yesterday and saw other scary stuff like how databases were on the same server as the prod server, how they poorly managed all infrastructure, and how it is mismatched into one server totally, and how their user groups were not isolated, how they didn't isolate containers from each other, how they didn't protect their databases, how their passwords are similar and easy to guess, and that's it, I guess.
All right.
Nisarg, can you
Uh,
tell us a
yeah.
little bit about this particular circular that you accessed and what was the portal link? Because
It was
earlier you mentioned
cbsosm.onmark.co.in. I am posting the circular in the chat. Give me 5 seconds.
so Nisarg, this data that you are saying, the database that you compromised, earlier you had mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, it had data of lakhs of students. Can you elaborate on the on what you
Yes,
saw
it had
yesterday?
9.3 million columns and rows. in the master table, and it had images of the answer sheets of the students, and it was pretty creepy to see. And they didn't protect it at all. Anyone with access to that server can read that database and destroy it or modify it. And I'm pretty sure there are other databases for evaluated data, for scored data, and people can edit it and tamper with the marks and so on. I have posted a portal circular link in chat. You can see.
So is this sure, thanks. So is this the same is this an extension of the ongoing on-screen mark portal controversy, that the latest hack that you did yesterday?
Yes, this is the principal's dashboard for on-screen marking, but seems like they were also storing the same data in the. They were also hosting this dashboard in the same container or the same VPS they were using.
And is there any, you also mentioned earlier before the webinar we were discussing about traces of using Gemini APIs
Okay,
in
so
the.
another person audited publicly available data and code of Quemt, and they could find automation scripts which are prepared by their quality assurance engineers. And in those automation scripts, we saw that the data was being processed via Gemini API. And this is pretty scary and sad, considering that a third party, which is Google, Google is a proprietary company. It's not based in India. It's not an Indian company, and they were sending that and Gemini doesn't have servers in India. They were sending the data overseas to US, and it had PII of students, personally identifiable information of students. And that's really sensitive data. You're processing data of minors and you're sending it out of India to just for the sake of like processing it through AI without permission, without consent, without proper audits, and that too in a very unsafe way. The pipeline was screwed. They were using AWS Tesseract, Google Gemini, and so on. And I don't know what to say. Data privacy laws aren't even respected. They should get sued for doing this without consent of students.
Yeah, that is, and also I wanted to connect it back to the earlier point that Sarthak was making in terms of who is actually holding the data of the mark sheet data dump, right? Per the revised tender, it has to be a third party and not the same company. So the database is now the answer sheets are now hosted on AWS servers, and what you're saying is the CBSE database is allowing Gemini to come and scrape through this information, and that information is going out of the country. So we are having a lot of uh, data sovereignty issue in terms of how the site is even run.
Yes, you are right here, because you see, Coem doesn't have their own servers. CBSE doesn't have their own servers during sensitive examinations, which can this is the question of future of where like thousands, lakhs, and thousands of students, and they should host self-host their own servers to store the data. But no, they took an easy route. They took the cheapest route possible. They just got some S3 buckets of AWS and started storing the answer sheets there. And during that, they didn't even hash the images. They didn't do any kind of security checks. They just put it in public bucket, so anyone who can guess the bucket ID and the bucket URL and the image ID, which can be enumerated with a Python script, they can see the answer sheets clearly as like
Mm.
broad daylights, and people can scrape answer sheets like this, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah, but I just have one question for Keshav, and then maybe Maitri, you can take it from there. This is basically going back to the on-screen marking system. So you had mentioned there wasn't a lot of chatter when the whole system was implemented on how teachers would be trained on this kind of new system, and how the whole scanning infrastructure will work. Was there any kind of a reach out to the public or the civil society to see something like this is coming up, and how should this be implemented uh, before the OSM system was started? And second is, given where we are right now, where do you think this will move? Is there a possibility that we won't repeat this error at least next year? This year is a disaster. This has to be fixed. But how will it move from here?
See, this decision came as a surprise to students. It was a shock because such thing till pre-boards in January was not even in the picture. Otherwise, schools would have started training the students as well as teachers. So it was somewhere in February they announced that this is something which we are going to do, and they did a 1 week training, and that was just an eye wash. And entire system, had a flaw right from uploading. Many times those uploadings did not happen when the exam papers were going. Teachers kept waiting. Then there were problems of marking, giving step marks. So there were n number of problems, and that is very obvious with such a large system. When first physics was being done, 5,56,000 copies. So entirely it was not planned, and it was a big secret. They were doing the tender behind, and I think just 64 days before they awarded the tender, something, this is the time period. So as far as preparation was gone, it was not there. Now, two things: had the scanning happened properly and teachers were trained, we would not even be discussing many things, because then the results would have been out, everything would have been good. Even we would not have gone into this hacking, because all
Yeah.
this started coming one by one. So this disclosures, I don't think we would have ever got. And these are very shocking when what Nisagra was saying, that your data is just available open. It is like just anybody can come, visit, do, and there's no privacy with so many lakh parents. And there's a serious question. So obviously, the system was not told to teachers or anyone. Nobody knew. It's only at the last moment. And it is very surprising how Education Ministry allowed this, how CBSE, just 2% or 3% run this CBSE. That means, because I cannot be, convinced that entire team would agree. And the main stakeholders, who? The students and teachers, principals, they had no say. I mean, entire body which is at stake, the teachers, students, they were not even asked. In a closed room, you're deciding everything and just putting it on your others. Second question, obviously, the system is being run in South. If you go Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, everywhere this technology is being run. In even 2014 CBSE tried. There is no harm. And today you have subjective checking softwares which have 80 to 85% accuracy. So better would have been in this, let AI would have checked this and teachers reviewed it, then less flaw would have been there, because technology can go and even read the handwriting today compared to human beings. So next year, if they take it forward, obviously they need to apply it throughout the year in the schools now, so that school teachers become well versed with this. Students have to be trained how to write, so that the margins, things do not go here and there. And even the scanners have to be trained, because this time they took out the supplement sheet, somewhere left. Why they were left? Because when copies are coming, they were not even checked, so they were never scanned. So they
Hmm.
need to be trained. And then the capacity, what scanners you are using, how many you can scan in a day, there are a lot of things to be answered. And then the important thing is, CBSE is conducted over different regions, so they have to have a room where all facilities are there in each region. Those can be transported properly, because here you have scope of losing the answer sheets. Then from where will you reproduce them? So they have to now think at list of the possibilities. And also, please use AI will give you more things, what all can go wrong. And then they have to come out with a better system only when they are fully prepared. And my suggestion would be, use AI to check. Today there are beautiful softwares to check copies, and let teachers review it. And once they review it, the errors will be less, and things can go in a positive way. We cannot go backwards. When world is moving to a digitalization, we have to go, but we have to secure the system. This is very, very confidential system. As he told, he could have changed the marks. Now then the entire chaos would have been there. CBSE would not even have known whose marks is what. Then entire 17 lakhs would have been crying. So thank they did not do anything like this, and others did not reach. But way forward is, they have to now first do it. वो कहते हैं, दूध का जला छाछ फूक फूक के पीता है. सीबीएसई को बोलूंगा, हर सफेद चीज फूक फूक के पियो, because don't know where you will get into trouble. So there are very basics which they got wrong. and this has exposed them like anything, that without preparation, if you come, you spoil the future. And you cannot take chances in class 12th. At least you could have done it in 9th and 11th, and you could have waited 1 year. I mean, this has all gone wrong very badly. Yes, John.
No,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks, Keshav, for that, that comment. And I would like to take this forward with Sarthak, where in his investigation, he first, in the earlier part of the conversation, pointed out a couple of discrepancies and diluting of RFP, but two more glaring, discrepancies that come to mind when we read Sarthak's work is, one is rewarding low manpower, right? I mean, Sarthak, if you could elaborate on the fact that how the conditions for human resources were diluted when it came to, awarding the tender to the current company. And the second point being about scanning, because that's what, Sarthak, you want to comment on. There have been penalties for, sort of weaved into the request for proposal for poor scanning, the penalties that the company could incur per answer book. What did you observe in the newer request for proposal, and what kind of penalties were there? Were they diluted as well?
The first thing I would like to talk about would be the penalties. The penalties were changed. In the old RFP, there were the penalty system was that if there was a mismatch, the vendor would have to pay 4,000 per answer book. If there was a partial scanning, the vendor would have to pay 8,000 per answer book. And if there were unscanned books, the vendor would have to pay 15,000 per answer book. But it was totally, absolutely changed in the newer RFP. In the newer RFP, it became that 50,000 rupees were 50,000 rupees of fine was levied per working day of delay while scanning answer books. Like the last day answer books should have been completed by the next day. If they are not completed by the next day, they will the vendor would be charged 50,000 rupees. Then obviously the scanning was not done properly because the scanning was rushed. This is totally amplifying what Keshav's point was. That the scanning was rushed. The scanning was rushed because CBSE was incentivizing volume over quality of the scan. The second thing about scanners I would like to say is that CBSE shifted to a vague interpretation. In the earlier RFP, they said that they wanted automatic book scanners or automatic scanners or book scanners, and COEMT wanted them to turn to a different solution because automatic book solutions, automatic book scanners were very hard to find and very expensive. And COEMT wanted to turn them to a different solution. In pre-bid clarifications, CBSE rejected them. But in the new tender they released, they absolutely diluted and vagued the word scanners. Earlier it was automatic book scanners, now it became sufficient scanners. That's sufficient scanners. Absolutely nothing. Like absolutely no detail about scanners or whatever, what quality of scanners should be used. There was this note about 200 DPI, but not what quality of scanners should be used. Conversely, looking into the Ranchi, I'm from Ranchi. Conversely, looking into the Ranchi contract, the Ranchi regional office issued a contract. They clearly mentioned high speed, high volume output duplex scanners with computer having capacity of scanning at least 60 pages per minute, both sides. So this is detail. This detail should not be lacking from CBSE's main request or proposal. This is from Ranchi regional office's Ranchi CBSE regional office, but CBSE central office from Mathura, I believe, is lacking all this, which is sad. And this allows the company to deliberately interpret it wrongly and give us bad quality of scans. So that's the first point. The second point was about rewarding low work power. In the older RFP, if you had above 100 software engineers, you would get full marks. But in the newer RFP, you only needed 100 people, 100 workers, out of which 15 should be software engineers. So this is clearly rewarding lower work power. That's pretty much it.
thank you so much, Sarthak, for taking us through a few important points on how glaring these discrepancies are and how glaring the dilution of tender and RFP is for everybody to see. And Nisarg, I just have one more query for you, and after which I will pass on the mandate to John. We'll also take a few questions from our viewers. Nisar, the archival link that you hacked into yesterday basically is the circular shows that it is a dummy application for principles to practice on. For instance,
It
like
is not a
complete.
dummy application. Let me correct that. It is not a dummy application. It
Hold on,
used to be
hold on.
dummy
Let me
application.
finish
This
my question. So CBSE refuted the allegations that you then they said that there's a different URL, and you said that the boundaries are being blurred between what is a dummy or a mock and what is actually a live production site. So can you please tell me how the hack was all pervading?
I'm gonna be really clear here. The circulars which mentioned the CBSC osm.onma.code.in URL being practiced. It was used like it was being used for practice for March 7 or March 8. Before that, it was only for practice, and after that, it had production data. If it didn't have production data, how did I get access to production databases which are the actual student and evaluator information? That's the first question. Second question is that all of the CBSE 1, CBSE 2, CBSE 3, and CBSE subdomains under the OnMark domain had the same infra, same code, same UI, same exact everything. All were also connected to the exact same load balancer which are connected to the production servers. And there are enough proofs that CBS is making false claims here to divert the attention, and that the actual prod data was compromised. Because when I first hacked into the portal of CBSE on-screen marking portal, the teacher's account I had access, that person is a real teacher at a real school, and he was tasked with the physics paper evaluation this year, and I was able to see physics papers when testing the exploit. So these questions remain, like how was I able to get production data if all everything was just you know um you know like test, and how was I able to see some sheets which were like dated on 28th February 2026? Because if it had test data, it would have been last year's paper, not this year's paper. How was I able to see some pages from this year's paper on my database scrape data from my databases? So how was I able to see that? These questions remain, that and it's clear that CBSE is making false claims here.
Thanks for the clarification, Nisar. This was much needed. Over to you, John.
Yeah, my question rather is that given that Keshav was telling that we need to get a weigh in of stakeholders for students and Gen Z, I think it would be fair to ask both Sarthak and Nisarg what sort of change would we need in the CBSE system, based on what is happening right now, from two angles. One is, Nisarga, you can talk from the security angle on, how these things should be built. And Sarthak, on, how do you think these sort of sensitive systems should be built so that students will have trust in them?
Personally, from a
Maybe,
technical and security angle, I
yeah.
think that there should be proper audits from companies like Deloitte or other internationally reputed companies who can run audits on these platforms before they are taken to production. I think this code should be reviewed by like mainstream AI agents like Claude Opus 4.8 or Codex before they are taken to production. I think the developers should be vetted, and there should be automated code review at all times. There should be automated security reviews at all times. Every branch, every comment should be examined before taking into production, because this is a very, very sensitive project that these people are working on. This is a question of national integrity and the future of lakhs of crores of students. And this is just setting a bad example at the point for CBSE. Like, people lose hope and trust on CBSE because of the negligence they're showing currently. And I hope moving forward in the future these are fixed and addressed by CBSE.
Thanks, Sarthak.
My belief is that the system should be more transparent. I believe that the a more transparent system would help citizens like me or us to inquire about this investment. We should know about who is applying for what tender, who is getting what tender, we should also know about the things that are going on in the like evaluation process, how the scanning was done. I just want transparency and accountability if anything goes wrong.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for summing up, Sarthak and Nisarg. We still have some time, so we will take some audience questions and then we'll wrap up with, all of you, including Keshav. Keshav, you can also take, these questions. Whoever wants to answer can go in. But let me sum up some audience comments to bring in a little bit of inclusion here in the webinar. Right. Uh, so there is this one question about, you know, Pratyush Somvanshi asks, has any public information been revealed about where in the correction process and how exactly did paper data get lost and breached? Also, because CBSE themselves had admitted that 13,500 papers, to be precise, were recalled and multiple more pages were lost. So, why did the evaluators here, why did the correction faculty, Keshav, I think you can weigh in on this, why did the correction faculty then not raise any questions, and why was there no immediate response? We are waiting for this entire error to reach an end stage, which is till the result day, and after the result day to be taken so seriously. And Pratyush also asks a very pertinent follow-up question to that, and he says that, what kind of, because Nisarg also mentioned the company getting sued, if it was any other jurisdiction, for instance, things would have been very different in the US. Okay, so also what kind of legal action can be taken, and if any is being taken, because NEET UG moved to Supreme Court. Now is it high time that students take this issue up in the court as well? Keshav, because you have also been a part of multiple petitions, can you please weigh in on Pratyush's question?
See, we can't expect teachers to raise the voice. Now, today, if you'll call on your webinar or anywhere, none of the teachers of CBSE would come and speak because they know the consequences they will face later on. So they can't even think. Now, what they can do is they are speaking like parrot. The principals have to sing for them that, yes, it was very good. So you can imagine this question's answer, how teachers were, struggling to finish the answer copies. They were working overtime, hand check, and they had to produce the result. And I know a couple of students who told me their results came 3 days afterwards. So some problem was there. So teachers cannot be blamed. They are puppets out here. Many cases they can't speak against the system. That is the irony or paradox of our country. You cannot speak wrong about wrong. If you are a part of the system, you have to keep quiet, mum, and accept it and say yes. So the answer is obvious. Teachers had to do at any cost and shut their mouth, not even open or disclose these things. This somehow leaked.
Keshav, what kind of legal action can this attract?
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to understand.
See, obviously, for this, you can take CBSE to court to answer all this and make everything transparent, because when you do, there has to be minutes of the meeting, because this is something which is a process followed, SOP followed. Then why this was done? Now, one CBSE's answer is that 25.75 versus 65, and then we matched the quality and other things. So we went with that. 70% was given to this and 30% weightage was given to the other part, and we went ahead. We did not compromise on anything, and they were not getting vendors, so they had to change the clauses, and at last they finalized on this company. So that is what their whole story is about, that we did not favor anyone, and since financial was involved, 25 and 65 has a double the difference, you can say. So that is there. But now obviously there are many other answers which this Sathak Nisagra has raised, like how could you compromise the system? Now money you charge from the students, you don't give this as a free seva, you take examination fees from them, and here you saved on transportation paid to teachers jo earlier hota tha. So you obviously saved on a lot of cost also. And here what matters more than cost is the future which is at stake. You cannot then you should have made it clear to students that we are going with this, there would be a scanning charge and this all things, but you never disclosed. You had a plan, you just were doing on your own. So obviously, see, the result no one should take to court. I'm very clear. If it goes to court, it will be in a mess. It will be in a mess. 3 language policy has gone in a mess. NIT went in a mess. Once you go to court, tarikh pe tarikh date, and they will say the matter is sub judice, now we cannot take the decision. So the evaluation process has to be here. Yes, the tender process, if it has so many flaws and we have sufficient documents, then definitely I have also done law, so I know that because their secondary evidence and primary will count, secondary will not count. We need documented evidence. It cannot be oral evidence which will count, because then nobody will say. So if we have solid primary document, and if we can file an RTI, which I did, and now file an RTI and get from CBSE in return, and then we have a good ground to move to court, which others can do, because you need it. Because see, RTI, what minister, sorry, language, it was told that only 1% of India studies foreign language, so that is not a big issue. Even it is 1%, in between 9 there is a issue little bit, because parents are in big trouble. So one after the other, you are issuing and creating problems in the education system. Beautiful policies would go or find their death if they are implemented so badly. So learning should be a joy. Examination outcome should be something fair, transparent. When inclusive education is being taught, you cannot force, you have to give choice. Moment you remove choice, everything goes. So here transparency is nil. Here you are defending yourself, you are trying to save your face, rather than coming in front. Yes, we tried this first time, it can happen, and we will fix it. These are the errors we committed and we are sorry for it. Instead of saying that, finally minister agreed and he accepted it. Now the politics is getting low, otherwise this will go into politics. They will ask for his resignation, give us a solution, resignation and all. It is not the accountability. What Supreme Court said, NTA, the accountability has to be fixed. Otherwise you will always take advantage and say next time we will do, but next time again the leak happens, again this chaos. If something else will happen, because NIT 24 something else happened, 26 something else happened. Here this is this time, now next time I don't know, it may be papers being leaked by this, or being compromised at the scanning stage, or other things can come up. So we need to close those leakages before we apply any experiment. And I am not against OSM, it's a beautiful technology, you have to move ahead, but implementation, the transparency, this all are question marks. Yes,
Thank
Maitri.
you so much for that, Keshav. Over to you, John, for closing comments.
I think this is like Keshav pointed out, this is quite a serious issue, and then it has to be really reworked in a better way. And I'd like to take my takeaways are largely what both Nisarga and uh, Sarthak had summarized so nicely, that we need to build a system that can be auditable, and it has capability for some kind of an external review. Maybe we could bring in some kind of an external auditor to kind of check how consistent these systems are. And the other more important point that Sarthak brought out was, how we should have the system built around transparency. So students, teachers, and the civil society trust the system. So this has to go in that route. But I'm not too sure how we can actually legally wade through this issue, like what Keshav mentioned, that there could be some issues and it might get stuck in court. But there has to be some kind of legal system through which we can approach these kind of issues in a broad way, some kind of a class action suit, like how it happens in the US. But those are some things that are outside of the purview of our discussion. So I think we broadly looked at a lot of issues that have cropped up because of this year's CBSE exam results. And I hope that we learn the lessons from this and rectify the mistakes. Over to you, Maitri.
Thank you so much for joining, Nisarga, especially considering, the kind of risks under which you operate, but continue to hold the system accountable every day. Thank you for putting up a good fight, Nisarga and Mr. Agarwal. And as we close this session, we see that Sarthak has already, sort of quit the call because he has a call with the parliamentary committee where they approached him to fill them in on what will again be archived in the government as a parliamentary committee report. So the standing committee will also hold and continue to the opposition and the standing committee will keep holding accountable the government for what is happening. This is not going to go down anytime soon. This narrative is going to play on. I hope it reaches a decent conclusion where now for today at least we are trying to see what CBSE has to say, except for the fact that every night they come out on X and they say we refute so and so allegations, and we refute today's allegations by the civil society, the opposition, and so on. But will they have anything stark to say? We also need to see what the IIT Madras and IIT Kanpur expert committee will sort of observe when they are right now so claiming to fix the leaks or studying the entire IT ecosystem of CBSE. But their report is again going to be confidentially submitted to CBSE. So I guess it's up to journalists to find out what that report says about stark sort of observations that they might make about the technology vendor and so on. So this is not ending anytime soon, but thank you for a very engaging 1 hour, everybody. Thank you so much.
Great connecting with everyone. Have a
Thank you.
nice weekend.